What up? Welcome back to Perspectives with Church Truly, your Highness to Don. Like I explained to you guys before, we're doing 30-minute pods on a regular basis. We about to hop back into algorithm, but we're gonna start this off with a song. Shouts out to Zay. Yeah, I mean, we always play homage to Zay. My favorite human when I first started podcasting put me on, and I've been in love ever since. Loyalty, though.
Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty a lot when you ain't never. Loyalty a lot when you ain't never really trust nobody. I got plans for me, you ain't here, I guess you ain't it. Keep rumbling the trauma like I'm Tyson. Been through all the drama, baby, I ain't tryna wife you. Cause you know this shit been over with. Yeah, my time has been running out. Yeah, you know this shit been over with.
Don't let nobody tell you this.
My time has been running out. Moving on my own, I know that I can never pull wrong. Baby, that's why I go in the booth and go and make these songs. So the bitch be careful with me, yeah. Ain't never tripping about your ex situations. Just treat me like I'm more than that. Just treat me like I'm more than that. I'm coming straight up out the mind. I'm still with it if I gotta break a bill with you. Just deal with it if they decide to burn the bridges. Don't put it on the floor.
When they burn the bridges,
Even though
let
the
them say burn.
praise God, cause he gon' give me
Praise
more.
God.
I told him to be careful with me, yeah. Cause I'm the one that get you bitches turned up on the weekend. Tired of being the one that's always there when they don't got nobody. I know she ain't leaving, she just want me to feel her heart. Want me to feel how she feel, just tryna leave
Them
a mark.
haters gonna come and go, baby.
Tryna leave a mark. Moving on my own, I know that I can never pull wrong. Maybe that's why I go in the booth and go and make these songs.
wherever
You
you
just
gotta
be careful
go
with
to
me,
get
yeah.
your
Ain't never tripping about your ex situations. Just treat me like I'm more than that. Just treat me like I'm more than that. Ain't nothing like your ex situations.
It's always
So
more
much
than
more to the story,
Remember
but I
that.
really don't want to get in that.
gotta
Just
play the
hit a
villain,
pull
play the
wrong and
villain,
maybe
but
give
you
them
gotta
swag.
voice over.
Rather talk about my future cause it's coming fast. You
Okay.
know you thinking wrong if you
The
ever thought I
ones
was
that
last.
envy?
With all my bitches,
Yeah.
even ones that's doing bad. Why should I do the sins when they push me to the edge? Feel like they just want me to
They
crash.
always want you to crash.
And
You
this
just
ain't
gotta
that sweet,
keep
and for
it
sure I
G.
gotta keep it G, keep it street, keep it G, forever rolling with my peace. I've been this way since they enrolled me in elementary. I feel like they just want me to crash. I'm on the way, you know this SRT swerving and out. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's always good vibes with me.
It's always good vibes. Shots out to Zay. Like that song would never be. It would never get old. You gotta be like. You gotta crawl before you walk these days. Like we all start from the bottom. We build ourselves back up to who we want to be. So pay homage to Zay Boogie. Like her song is on my page. Like I always pay homage before pie and after pie. But welcome back. Welcome back to Perspectives with yours truly, your Highness the Don. Now, today we're going to explore the depths of life's purpose and what it means to truly have your own self-identity. I am your host, your Highness the Don. And today we're diving into topics that touches everyone and every one of us. Self-identity. What does it really mean to have a self-identity? How do we form it, hold on to it, and sometimes we lose it? And most importantly, what does it matter? Over the next 30 minutes, we'll unpack these questions, share stories, and reflect on our own self-identity and everything that shapes relationships to our sense of purpose. So let's get started. Segment 1, what's self-identity? First, let's define what self-identity is. Self-identity is, at its core, self-identity is how we perceive ourselves. So with myself, for example, I call myself what? Your Highness. Your Highness Unicorn Don, you know what I mean? Whatever I'm going for that day, you know what I'm saying? But I prefer, like, my perspective of myself is I'm your Highness. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to, like, my walks of life, my past, and what, like, I've done to get to where I'm at, like, I perceive myself at the highest form of the pedestal, and I'm going to continue to get in. The value and the sum of our own beliefs and values and our roles. It's the answer to our question, who am I? But it is just a simple label. It's a dynamic, evolving your story. you tell your own story basically. It's influenced by one, culture, two, family, three, experience, and even the media. Now, for me, because of the form of family that I come from, you guys can watch, prior pod. Like, I don't necessarily come from a decent family. So, like, who I am, who I perceive myself to be, as I stated, I perceive myself to be of the highest caliber because of my past and upbringing and everything that I had to do in order to get to this place of Your Highness the Don, Chanel, Unicorn Nell. And to me, what that means is like it goes with my personality. My personality is very fun, is very welcoming. Like, it also like tells a story of like my past coming into now. When you start off as a unicorn, your tails and your little like the hair and the ponytail we all had, like My Little Ponies when we were little. Like the way and how my hair flourished, like from my own like developments in life, that's how I perceive myself. That's why I perceive myself as being at that top. However, think about this. You might say to yourself, I'm a father, I'm a student, I'm creative, but those are just roles. Like in essence, that's it. So you got to think about it. Like like let's use person A. Person A only, they never amounted to nothing in life. And that's always like my go-to, cuz again, if I can't like give you guys stories and explanations as in my viewpoints, how can you know where I'm coming from? But person A never went to school, never went to college. Like they barely got out of high school. They had some kids. Outside of that, nothing. If you don't have like something that you could be proud of, excuse me. And remember, I stated before that resume. If you don't have that resume to where as though you're like, hey, I accomplished this in life, and outside of materialistic things, you got to think about this. Like, and if we're using just the terms of I'm a father, I'm a student, I'm a creator, what have you done in the essence of your own person that makes you feel like you're at the top of the world? A lot of times people confuses those titles and those roles with like their own like self accomplishments and self-worth. Again, it holds no value to your own identity. So there are things that you have to do in order to get to that piece of knowing who you are. So what happens when those roles change? What happens when a student graduate college? What happens when a father kids grow up? Does your identity shift? Absolutely, it shifts. That's why self-identity is so profound, it's liquid, it's not fixed. So again, if you guys been like watching my story and the specimen that I've been going back and forth with, when you have no self-identity, when you have nothing to where as though for me, my biggest what formed my identity was that cultural past, was where I came from, and where I'm going. Like, of course, you're like I wrote in my short notes, being a student was one thing. Graduating college with honors was another. However, it's what you're doing after that to establish yourself in this world. It's the same thing as like a up and coming artist. They start off, everybody starts off as an underdog. Same way like when you go to school, you start off in kindergarten. You don't know your letters, you don't know your sounds, you don't know your verbs, you don't know your nouns. However, as you go through the different walks of life and you start learning those things and you know them, and you could be like, oh my God, I did that. I used to homeschool my kids for about 3 years. As I was homeschooling my kids and I realized and I seen them they're so proud, when they can remember the sight words that I taught them Monday and we can go over them Friday before we take the test. it's a sense of accomplishment. With certain people in life, if they don't have that sense of accomplishment, they're like wild animals. They're like wild dogs. So at the end of the day, it's like once someone like for example, let's say someone loses their job unexpectedly for 4 years, all they identified with was that career. Then suddenly they lost their job. They're out here without a title. They get buried beneath this role. Kind of sound like a person that I was telling y'all about, right? The specimen. When at one point in time in your life, if you're high up on your game and like, you're getting all this attention, and to that person or that individual, like I said, it could be a father, it could be someone who graduated college, it could be a child. If you do not know who you are and like the journey that you want to go on to, like, discover who you are beyond those surface levels, you could be confused out here. Like, you can definitely turn into like a lost wild animal. Sounds like someone I spoke to you guys about before. I bet it did. Segment 2, the psychology of self-identity. Now let's touch on like the psychology part of it. Psychologist says self-identity is central to our mental health and well-being. Again, it sounds like something that I spoke to you guys about. When someone does not have a good, well-centric mental health and well-being, like pretty much to whereas though like their self-identity and like their perspectives in life is clear, they tend to not have high self-esteem nor resilience. And what I say by resilience comes from like pretty much you just having purpose out here. You're not just out here just causing drama, like starting nonsense. Like, you genuinely wake up every morning and it's like, you know what? Dang, what can I do to whereas though like I'm a better human than I was yesterday? I say every day, like when it comes to like my own person, like, my own self-identity, I may be going through like different trials and tribulations currently right now because of like this specimen and the level of chaos that it's causing. However, I wouldn't like my biggest saying, and I have it posted on my YouTube, your perspective of me is a projection of you. I'm going to say that again. Your perception of me is a projection of you. When people do not have a self-identity, they become fragmented and confused. Like, it's pretty much like during life changes, like, or trauma. It causes anxiety, depression, feeling of emptiness, like of just being empty. Due to like certain people that's out here that does not have a self like identity, they tend to be influenced by controlling behaviors. They tend to act like inconsistent when it comes to how they see them old selves. It's kind of like just pretty much it just comes off as bullying. That's just pretty much like how psychologists like sum it up. Like, someone without a sense of self-identity is just a mental concept of them being powerless over their own lives, and like them being powerless over their own lives, and them not being able to shape their own life as in what they feel like is, greatness. You create your own greatness at the end of the day. Like, who you are is who you want to be. Like, this is why I don't necessarily get into like the concept of, oh, nothing's going right for me right now. Like I have not seen my kids in 3 months behind the shambles of this thing, but it's like I'm not complaining. Like, you take everything a step at a time. You got to remember like what it means to have self-identity. Like, and then at the same time, you got to understand how society shapes our identity too. So for a person whose self-identity like has not formed, it's pretty much like a vacuum. Society plays like a huge role, from family perceptions to cultural norms to social media. We're consistently receiving messages about who we should be. Sometimes those messages align with not necessarily their true selves, but it tends to create a pressure to conform them into like feeling like, okay, dang, I have to be like this person. It's kind of like measuring up to something or someone. Even, and y'all got to keep in mind, it's mental. Because if you have a self identity, the only person that you need to measure up to is who you was yesterday. So at the end of the day, like the highlights of like pretty much this segment is we see what you see as yourself, like who you see yourself as, is pretty much compared to a lot of the times who you're trying to fit in with. And as messed up as that may sound, like a lot of the times people tend to like try to claim their self identity with a lot of like the loud noises like of social media, like what the world say you should be. And that can be a challenge because again, let's say that person has a learning disability. If you have a learning disability, like I'm quite sure you didn't go to college. I'm quite sure you barely got out of high school. I'm quite sure you barely had a real job that consists of a real skill. And a lot of the times when people are out here and they don't have real skills and they don't have those key like elements to where as though they can go out there and get it, they tend to pick, bully, all those terms. So how do we discover and embrace our authentic self identity? And right now, like I'm jumping into the journey of authentic self identity. Here's a few steps that like can help you guys. And like even like with me going through like this journey of what I'm going through, like at the end of the day, anyone who personally know me, you know I self-reflect a lot. And this is why like you'll hear me say a lot, like if you follow me on social media, I don't go through people's stories. It's rare to where as though like I'll go through someone's stories, regardless if they're my friends or not my friends, and I'm going to tell you why. If I post something, whether if it's a video of myself or if it's of me like, you know, speaking about something or just giving my opinion, I constantly watch that over and over again because in my head I'm thinking, what can I do to improve that? Like I always say, like my only goal in life is to better myself from yesterday. So a lot of the times, like when people don't have a true self identity, they hop on social media and they're constantly like trying to compare themselves to somebody else or trying to be someone else. And someone that doesn't have a true self identity, of course, they won't own up to it, but it's the truth. Any given time you ever see a woman talking about another woman's looks, what they have going on career wise, financial wise, any of those things, you kind of got to reflect. Like, and like for me, like I'm a thinker. I'm a thinker and I'm a researcher. So when you sit back and you get to thinking and you get to researching, if a person can't turn a mirror on themselves and be like, wait, hold up, I said that. I called that person a name. Girl, look at that pimple right there. Let me take that back. This is why, like for years, like I never had no one to teach me. If I don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I learned this myself. Like I had to pretty much raise myself. Like I raised myself with like, you know, the older guidance of older people that was just around me. But again, self-reflection, regularly having self-reflection with yourself every day. And like a lot of the times people cannot have true self-reflection with themselves because they lie to themselves. So who am I beyond these roles and these titles? Who, like if I'm not going to work and it's not like oh yeah, I am a doctor of this, I am a nurse practitioner of this, I am a CPN of this, I am a, you know, a pharmacy technician of this. I like it, outside of those roles, who are you? If you cannot define who you are yourself, go on social media and take a look at those people that's constantly like talking about like, another human, whether if it's man or woman's person, they're kind of probably suffering from not having a true self identity and not being able to self reflect. Number two, mindfulness. Being present helps you notice your true feelings and desires and not what others expect of you. One thing for certain and two things for sure. Like, I practice mindfulness all the time. Like it's a lot of times to where as though I can be very emotionless. However, like when I do tap into my emotions, it's more so built up and I definitely deal with it like in private. However, I can sit there and I can recognize like, okay, like, what do I need to do to change these emotions? Two, courage to be vulnerable. And I had to learn this because being authentic requires you to show up as you are, imperfect and real. One thing about me, if you guys pay attention to like my social media, and I'm gonna drop my chirp link because I did lose my all of my social medias behind this specimen. However, one thing I don't do, like I'll live rent free on people pages because if you ain't got a hater, you ain't popping. Like for real, for real. So it's like at the end of the day, not even just that, like the level of hate in this specimen is on. Like, bro, I would never want to live like that. And I'm gonna tell you why. The way and how this girl hate me and the extent that she goes through, I wish she loved herself that same amount. Because again, if you turn that reflection on yourself and you look in the mirror, I could look in the mirror at myself and I'm like, girl, you're beautiful. Let's change this for tomorrow. Let's change that for tomorrow. That person's level of obsession with me is a mental illness. But again, who are you outside of being a a dancer? Who are you outside of being a home wrecker? Those are titles that are not necessarily anything to be proud of. Like, through any form of trial and tribulation I ever went through in life, like, I always have greatness. I always have perseverance because there's a lot of life lessons and a lot of like different situations that I got placed in life that I had to I had to learn real life lessons from it. Outside of being a mother, who am I? Chanel. Who am I? Your Highness. Why? Because my cultural walk of my past said by statistical facts, I should have been a loser. Honestly, I should look and live and be just like those people of where I came from. And like to be honest, majority of the time I'm intertwined with people that are way more established than me. And like for me, all I'm doing is just taking notes. I'm like, I gotta get better. So you gotta be able to have the courage to be vulnerable. And you gotta surround yourself with supportive people. Me moving to Texas, that was my biggest move. One thing I learned about moving to Texas, people are way more supportive and people are pretty much they're a lot more loving than people where I come from in Philadelphia. It's a lot of haters in Philadelphia, and like everybody has like this bring you down spirit. Like at the end of the day, being in Texas, like not only am I like surrounded by like honestly millionaires, different situations and different time frames. Like I've gotten a lot of doors to be open for me, like pretty much being down here. So you got to remember, self identity is a journey. It's not a destination. It takes patience and kindness towards yourself. And reflection and closing thoughts. Before I wrap it up, I like to invite you guys, close your eyes, take a deep breath, ask yourself, who am I right now? What part of my identity do I feel true? What parts do I feel belong to me or belong to someone else that pretty much like I'm just trying to adapt to? Your true self is waiting beneath the surface, is waiting for you to recognize it, honor it, live it, embody it. And what that means is like just tapping into you. Not you like, oh yeah, I'm beautiful, but this. You know what? I look better than her. You're not focusing on your true self-identity if you're comparing. Comparisons is not a self-identity. A self-identity is what you have, to whereas though it's like you wake up every morning, it's like, damn, God bless me. God bless me for this. Find your true purpose. And I love to hear about the perspectives of, like, for the most part, like, just like how you're working to build your own identity. Your own identity is power. Own it, live it, and love it. I welcome you guys to tap in, leave your comments. If you're negative, you're pretty much going to get blocked. Like, I don't have the time for it. However, tap in, follow my link, Chirp. I cleaned up a lot of my social media. Y'all about to see some big projects coming from me. So stay loyal to you, stay true, and just wrap it up. Leave those comments.
Still proving wrong. Right back in my zone. Loyalty. A lie when you ain't never. Loyalty a lot when you ain't never really trust nobody. I got plans for me, you ain't here, I guess you ain't invited. Keep rumbling the trauma like I'm Tyson. If you all the drama, baby, I ain't tryna wife you. Cause you know this shit been over with.
Find that self-identity.
My time has been running out.
That's everything.
Yeah, you know this shit been over with.
This time never running out. You can wake up tomorrow, you can try
Moving on
again.
my own, I know that I can never prove wrong. Maybe that's why I go in the booth and go and make these songs. So the bitch be careful with me, yeah. I ain't never tripping about your ex situations. Just treat me like I'm
Don't
older
trip
than
about nothing. Listen, swimsuit line, royalty. It's loading. Y'all about to see it. These big projects coming. Okay? Be authentic. Find your self-identity. Self-identity comes from self-reflection. But rumble that trauma. You know what I'm saying? Self-identity goes surpass roles, labels, and a mask. Remember that. Profound your essence. Find out who the true you is. Surpass labels. But tap in tomorrow. We coming. We locked and loaded. Perspectives with Your Highness the Don, and we're out.